Thank you, Demarcus, from Music Book. Hello, everyone. It's so excited to see you today. I am Rodney Sampson, Executive Chairman and CEO of Opportunity Hub. And I'm excited to have with me today Michelle Hercules, who is the founder and CEO of Hercules Innovative Technology Solutions, HITS. Michelle, welcome to OHUB Masterclass. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Rodney, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm truly excited.
Absolutely. It was incredible for us to hear DeMarcus's rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing. We call that the Black National Anthem. And contextually, Opportunity Hub for almost a decade has been committed to ensuring that everyone, everywhere, particularly those from the African diaspora, are equitably exposed, upskilled, hired. We say Black and hired at OHUB, are innovating, creating businesses, and investing equitably in what we call the future of work, the fourth industrial revolution, and beyond. I was on Twitter earlier today and I saw where billionaire Robert Smith, who's one of the richest Black men in the world, he's a private equity fund manager and owns his own fund that invests in technology companies. And he reminded us that we are indeed in the fourth industrial revolution. So I want to encourage each and every one of you that are watching us across all of the social platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, to please share and to amplify this masterclass, because it is incredibly, imperatively, and I'm just making up words, important. It is very, 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 very important that we as a community, America and globally, learn what the fourth industrial revolution is and also learn about the edge technologies that are driving the fourth industrial revolution and are creating new industries such as cybersecurity. I want to give a shout out to our partners that are making this masterclass series and beyond possible. Give a shout out to Get Cities and also to Second Muse Foundation as well. Well, family, ecosystem, let's jump right into today's conversation. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And just for background, I actually met Rodney at a BitCon conference a couple weeks ago, and I was so inspired by his presentation on creating technical talent and creating pipelines that I kind of chased him after his presentation, and I told him I want to be involved. I wanted to seek his mentorship when it came to my company. And then I also really wanted to be able to share my insight and my journey in the cybersecurity space. So as I mentioned before, I really greatly appreciate the opportunity to share my knowledge and to be a part of a contributing part of your movement, as well as providing help and insight to those that need it, that are on the line. And then also for those that are on the line, I applaud you for joining and understanding the value in cybersecurity right now.
Absolutely. I was excited to meet you as well. And we were actually about to head to the airport, and my wife went to the restroom, and I went to the restroom, and I came out. That's when we bumped into each other. And when you started telling me about your background and your current work and your company, I was like, I've got to get you involved in this initiative. And so the diligence and following up that got us here today. And we're just getting started. And of course, for everyone that's watching, please make sure you join OHUB's Black Women in Cyber initiative today, www.opportunityhub.co/cyber, powered by Get Cities and the Second Muse Foundation. I'm going to leave that up during the masterclass, so you'll have ample opportunity to grab it, write it down, copy it, and also text it and tweet it. One of the just the Kingonomics principles that we practice here at Opportunity Hub is reciprocity. It's not just enough for you to get put on and you to make it and you to have a great career and you to have a great company and you to become a great investor. We do this so that we can bring others along with us. And that's really, at the end of the day, what Opportunity Hub, OHUB as we affectionately call it, is all about. So please make sure you sign up for the initiative. You have the opportunity to access some upskilling opportunities as well. And of course, there's the opportunity to schedule office hours, which we'll talk a little bit more about as well. Michelle, let's jump in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your just your background and how you arrived to this point today?
Sure. So again, my name is Michelle Hercules. I am the founder of Hercules Innovative Technology Solutions. And the premise of my company is really in alignment with what OHUB is doing. It's to create successful pipelines through mentorship, training, and just connection opportunities. And so from my background, I consider myself to be a byproduct of STEM. And so at the age of 14, my parents enrolled me in a leadership development course where I had the opportunity to work in a county executive office as an administrative assistant. And then I was able to attend community college classes that taught me about professional development, more insight at the time of what was called information technology roles. And I was able to talk with different individuals in that role as I was doing data entry at the age of 14. And from that experience, it built the confidence in me to know that, okay, I know I was going to do something in the area of information technology, but I also had the curiosity to expand and to see what else was in that realm. And so throughout my high school years, I took advantage of college development courses in high school. And then when I went to the University of Buffalo, I acquired a triple concentration in management information systems, marketing, and human resources. And then I went on to get my master's in strategic management. And so for me, I've always been one that liked to learn and one that always wanted to be in the cutting edge of technology. When I was going to school, e-commerce was new, but no one really knew what it was. And management information security or technology, which is now cybersecurity, was the hot lane. And so my internship in college became my full-time employment. And I started as an app developer working on a PeopleSoft HRMS system. At the time, we were going from a version 7.5 implementation to a version 8 implementation. And my boss at the time, he was asking me what my favorite course was in school. And so I had told him I'm taking this course called the System Development Lifecycle Methodology, and I really like it. And I want to be able to get a firsthand experience as to what that means. And so for him, he said, well, we're going to start your career with you working on your own data repository. So in that repository, I had to identify vanilla and customize code. It was a global entity, so I had to work with different business representatives in the UK and Hong Kong and the Caribbean. And then after that effort was done, identifying what system implementations would be vanilla versus customized, he then asked me to do some programming. And so in school, I was learning a little bit about Java, but at the time I had to learn COBOL and work in a TSO DB2 environment, doing binary arrays and in hard coding language in order to make sure our pay calc process worked. And so after that effort was done, he assigned me to work in a problem management help desk role. And so whenever the code was bending, my team would have to try to figure out what the root cause issues were. And then also at the time, and Rodney, I'm showing my age, but the reports were reporting out onto like that white in green paper.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the major implementations at the time was to move to electronic reporting. So JCL, adding JCL steps into your coding language. And during that time, I was pursuing my master's. And I knew that I'm originally from Rochester, New York, as I mentioned, went to college in Buffalo. And I knew I wanted to move to an area that had 4 seasons versus, just the 2 seasons that we had in upstate, which is warm,
Oh, yes.
warm and cold. And so I knew at that point in time, after receiving my master's, I would probably locate to the Maryland area in which I reside now. But I wanted to be able to, again, tap into my curiosity. I knew how to do app development, but I wanted to be able to see how other Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 100 companies worked from a change management and then even audit standpoint. So I took a position with a big four organization, and my specialty was change management for HRMS systems and mergers and acquisitions. But then I also worked on 404 Sarbanes-Oxley reviews, which was very hot during the time. I then migrated to one of the major, well, I worked on two of the major financial institutions get current reviews. So if you can remember the economic crisis, there were two major companies that kind of were under fire. And so at the time I did some deficiency-based testing for both of those entities, worked in their IT audit compliance area, but then also did IT consulting and subject matter expertise when it came to release management and how to meet regulatory standards and best practices. Then after that, a friend of mine actually owned an IT consulting firm and wanted me to go on a job interview just so he could say that he had someone that had skill sets in the app development space, audit space, particularly because there was the economic crisis was going on. And so long and short, I joined a federal agency to revamp their Sarbanes-Oxley practice. And then they created a position for me, and I took over their FISMA program, privacy program, anything in the information security assurance area. But then I still was a subject matter expert when it came to change management, SDLC, agile methodology approaches. And so throughout my career path, what helped me was, so being an app developer and being technical, it helped me when I transitioned to the audit realm, because I was able to say if something was meeting things from a technical standpoint, or if it wasn't possible from an audit standpoint. And so when I was dealing with my clients, they appreciated that I kind of knew what I was talking about and I could speak both languages. As mentioned in my bio, I recently transitioned into a role of workforce development. And so in 2020, during the push for Black women to help support all DEI efforts, upskilling, technical training, I jumped on that effort because diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging is truly important to me. I know for me, being a lot of times I was the only minority face in some of my meetings. And so for me, I really wanted to be able to share my knowledge and create diverse candidate pools. And so a major effort that I'm working on right now, because of the cybersecurity, the gap that we have in employing truly technical individuals from a cybersecurity standpoint. I'm doing the work right now to identify where our skills gaps are. What are we currently doing in the area of cybersecurity? What do we need in order to fulfill these gaps? And so taking a look at the different technical drivers in order to put a plan together related to technical training, recruitment, improving job descriptions, because a lot of times the job descriptions that are currently out there are a little outdated based off of the need. So I know I said a lot. So Rodney, I'll pause here just to see if there's any questions.
Well, first and foremost, you're an OG.
Thank you.
Definitely an OG in this space. And wow, I was thinking while you were sort of going down memory lane and kind of bringing us current on your work, is where did the spark come from? Right? Where did the first, if you can recall, that first spark of exposure where you were like, wow, app development, coding, we have all of the fancy, STEM,
Sure.
STEAM, cybersecurity, but you probably didn't even, call it that. But what was that spark, and where were you, and how old, and who facilitated that spark for you?
That's a good question, because I don't know if there was necessarily a spark. For my family is originally from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and being a first generation American, for me, I always wanted to be able to make an impact in whatever I did. And so I think the first time that I got my internship at the first entity where I worked, and being able to see a tangible product, right? A product where I actually had to apply true lessons just on the job, and nothing that I was learning in school, and actually seeing how it impacted not just the Buffalo area, but the global area from a pay calc standpoint. I was like, okay, but I did that, and it was important to me. And I continue to see how I can make an impact, right? And so when we talk about now, there is an immediate impact and an immediate need for Black women in cybersecurity.
Okay.
And so yeah, I would say that was the spark. If that makes sense.
Let's double click there a little bit. Why is there an immediate need for Black women specifically?
So you have a number of regulatory standards out there that are actually holding companies accountable to ensure that they have a diverse executive body, a diverse executive, not even executive, but a diverse workforce. One of the things that was mentioned at the BitCon conference was a lot of industry saying, well, we're looking, but we can't find talent in the Black women space. And so why is that? What can we do to improve our footprint? What can we do to improve the confidence for women to know that you deserve to be in cybersecurity? We are resilient. There's transferable skills. And so there's no reason to really be intimidated with moving into cybersecurity. Because, I'll give some examples. In the cybersecurity space, I've hired mathematicians when I was working on data entry projects. I hired a paralegal when I had to take over the privacy program, communication leads to help build out the branding or newsletters. And so when you think out of the box and from an innovative standpoint, there's an opportunity for everyone, and particularly Black women, because we're taught to juggle many projects at more than one time, balancing our family life and our work life. And so there's opportunities.
you're absolutely right. Especially, I think because of how Black people, but particularly Black women, navigate so many roles simultaneously. When you talk
Mhm.
about being agile and talking about
Yeah.
managing different projects and people
Yes.
and output, securities, I think it's an incredible career pathway. Perhaps talk a little bit. You have an incredible technical acumen, but we
Sure.
do know there are other roles um, for Black women in particular to enter cyber. Um, First, tell us a little bit more about, like, when we say cyber, like,
Mhm.
what does that mean in terms of the types of companies
Sure.
or organizations that could be hiring or looking? And then what are some of the different roles? And
Sure.
then, because we're talking about cybersecurity, I would think that there's probably a little bit more vetting that goes on in terms of your interviews and your
Absolutely.
application. Maybe kind of cover all of those things.
Sure, that's an excellent question because cyber is so broad within the different domains. The first masterclass panel, they did an excellent job of covering cybersecurity in the health space, cybersecurity in the security operation space. Again, my skill sets are more so based in the cybersecurity assurance space. And so, when looking for opportunities in cyber, there is the security operations. So, when you hear a lot about vulnerability scanning and ensuring that an organization's back end network is secure from data breaches, that's really more so on the information security side. And so, if you have a passion for doing coding or even looking at high volume transactions and being able to identify from a line item, okay, here's the issue, and these are the things that we need to fix. Let's say if your company has to go through an OIG review or an external audit review, that's the security operations side of the house. From a health side of the house, there are HIPAA mandates. And so, with all of the health concerns that are going on right now, and ensuring that everyone's privacy is secure from a health standpoint, there's HIPAA regulations that have to be put together. But then also, there's opportunities to do data mining when it comes to claims, when it comes to mapping out where health billing. So that's a broad spectrum right there as well. Uh, Information assurance, it's really dependent on the industry, right? So if you're in the government space, you're going to have to meet regulatory standards. So FISMA, privacy. If you're in the private sector, you're going to have to meet Sarbanes-Oxley. But then on top of that, you have to make sure that you're meeting best practice standards. And there's so many different best practices out there to meet what we're calling the new digital transformation effort, right? To stay ahead of the ball. And so it could go on and on. UX is another up and coming area that touches on cyber, where you're trying to ensure that the overall user experience for a product is in place, but then you have the security on the back end. And so when we say cyber, I do think that sometimes when people say cyber, it's intimidating because they're thinking about, oh, with the ransomware threats, and they're thinking about cyber on a deeper level, but cyber has so many different domains. And what's what's a help right now too is that there's so many individuals that are creating their own businesses or creating their own websites. Just the creation of your website and ensuring that you put the appropriate passwords in there, that's identity access management to a certain degree, right? So you have to be able to take a look at what you're doing and then kind of shift it into a cybersecurity space.
Wow. So many intersectional skills for so many different types of roles. There's also governance, there's management, there's HR,
Oh,
there's
yes.
technical
Yes.
sales. So you may have skills that you've accumulated over your career that are transferable into this industry. And then, of course, there are all types of organizations, all different types and sizes, from very big government
Mhm.
agencies to Fortune 1000, Fortune 100. But there are also a lot of recently IPO companies or
Oh, yes.
startups, right? So there's the whole gamut in terms of where you can fit in. Let's talk a little bit. I did drop a tag across the ticker. If you got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. We're watching the comments, and we'll definitely work to get to um, as many as possible. I see comments from the chat coming across as well. Let me see. I can show some of these. Shanae Commodore, the federal government has mandate for DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion in all agencies. All government vendors and contractors are required to
Very true.
have basic cybersecurity practices. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Shanae, for that comment and for your work. Indeed, this is great information. Michelle, talk a little bit about how folks can get started. How
Sure.
do Black women get started if they feel like, wow, I don't have any of these skills? Of course, OHUB, it's kind of like a trick question, but I know you have some resources and sort of a framework and blueprint of how folks can get started as well.
Absolutely. The first thing, and I'll say it again, is not to be intimidated by cyber. Know that you will be successful in cyber. You already have the skill sets needed for cyber. And so, with that, regardless to what role you have right now, certifications are looked at so strongly right now because there's such a need. And so, if you've identified a lane that you would like to get into, or that you have some curiosity pertaining to, get a cert and be able to speak to that. There's different offerings in schools, even community colleges, just to wet your whistle when it comes to different lanes in cyber. And so take those opportunities as well. Another thing too is what you're seeing here: relationship building. When you know the right people, when you know how to get the training that you need to identify different skills, or just to say, hey, I'd like an opportunity. Do you have an internship? Do you have do you know of someone who has a startup and they're just looking for resources immediately, and I need to build my resume and my portfolio? It's networking, and it's going to these different events, the different conferences. That's how you get your foot in. Another angle too is going in from a contractor route. Um, so there are some organizations, because there's such a need. If you go to an organization that already has an agreement with a federal agency or a major organization, they'll train you because they need the bodies, right? And so there's an opportunity there just to say, hey, I have goals and aspirations to move into the cybersecurity space. Just need an opportunity. They may even guide you to say, hey, get this cert, get the Security Plus cert, get a CISSP cert. Go to a Gartner conference, a SANS conference, do an MBI, IBM Skills Gap, get a cert there, get a Microsoft Azure cert. There's ways of being able to show that you've been proactive. And then also, as I said, because there's so many individuals that have side hustles now and are being innovative in trying to get additional revenue, lean on that you were proactive in creating this. So you're showing the drive, and you just want to be able to transition into another area.
That's incredible. I encourage people, when you're listening to an OHUB masterclass, to make sure that you take notes. You're getting this is just wisdom that is flowing, experiential wisdom, not theoretical, not guesswork. Michelle dropped several different types of certifications. She dropped places to go, the trade shows, the conferences, the summits. She talked a little bit about IBM Skills Bill, which we happen to be a partner of. When you join this initiative at opportunityhub.co/cyber, you get a link to join IBM Skills Bill for free. And there are literally thousands of free badges, certifications, courses, you name it. There are learning pathways for cyber, for machine learning, for artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, for agile, you name it. It's already there for
Yep.
you to um, upskill at your pace.
Yep.
You
Upskill and
don't
reskill.
have to leave college, upskill and reskill. Which in the fourth industrial revolution, all of us are lifelong learners. We do not stop learning, and so you might as well get badged up. You might as well get
It's true.
started up, as young folks say, so that you can actually monetize that towards your respective career pathway. Here's a question from Marsha. I'm going to show that question really quickly. What area of cyber would you recommend for someone with 9+ years of government administration with
Mhm.
specific experience in project coordination and project management?
Mm. You could work in a plethora of areas. So there is a great need for individual to help with policy management. There's a number of activities that when you're in a cybersecurity lane, you have to look at it from a project management standpoint. So if you have your PMP and you're able to say that you understand um, different systems, and then also you also have that policy background and a background in being able to update documents. I would say that you could transition into the security assurance area relatively quickly. Um, from a project management standpoint, the work in the agile space. So I have a love-hate relationship with agile because I'm an old school waterfall SDLC girl, right? And so so if you don't have a very strong foundation, if your system implementations are already failing on the regular and then you put agile on it to skip steps, I have issues. Now, if you're able to have a project management background and you're able to implement that project management background in an agile framework, you're winning. And so there's various opportunities, even in the technical training space. As I mentioned, there is a gap. We just do not have enough resources for the type of work that's out there. And so if you have a passion towards going into learning and development, workforce development is a new key term that's really building up to really be able to tap into top talent that's currently out there, but then to also retain your talent that is at your organization. And so those are a couple of areas where you could transition in. But again, as Rodney mentioned, I think there's some office hours if you wanted to schedule some time with me so I could see your portfolio of work. We could definitely talk that out in greater detail to put a career trajectory together for you in the cyberspace area.
Well, Michelle just let the cat out of the bag. So she's going to be joining the OHUB team as a SME subject matter expert to host office hours with Black women who want to talk about their prospective journey in cyber. So we are incredibly excited for her to join the team. That's one thing about the Opportunity Hub ecosystem, and my wife Shantira and I talk about this all the time. There are some OG Black experts out there that have paved the way, that are paving the way, and we really just have to know who they are. Everything that we require to build equity in the fourth industrial revolution, or the future of society and the future of work and future of everything, is really already in our community. And we have to do a
Yeah.
better job of platforming these people in these organizations, and also giving them an opportunity to help them bring more people along as well. Michelle, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
And
Sure.
where do the Black women in cyber, where do you all convene? Where do you all hang out? Like,
Sure.
I know you're not the only one. Uh,
Sure.
so where are you all at?
So similar to where we met. So at different conferences, so BitCon, the Gathering Spot, there are different Black women in tech. There are different conferences, membership groups that support this effort. As you go to these different conferences, every city has a Black women in IT, or even if it's just women in IT, you'll still find your core of some Black women in those groups. And so it really is another point I will bring up is you could be as smart as ever on the technical side of the house, but it's extremely important to create those relationships. It's extremely important to have mentors. For me, I've always had a mentor in I've always had three different types of mentors. A mentor that I aspired to be like, a mentor that was not in my field at all, that I could talk to see if I'm looking at it correctly. And a mentor I hated to talk to because they would tell me the truth. And I would have to, before sitting with them, I have to, get my emotions together. And so, so I'll say you'll find this in these different networks. And OHUB, this has been amazing. And so again, I thank you for allowing me to speak on this platform. It's so important. I also say, as I said before, do not be intimidated. This is what we do. And you already have the skill sets from a soft skill standpoint, the resilience, being able to multitask, take on pressure-driven roles. You have that. So it's a balance of your technical and your soft skills and the relationship building going to these different networks and conferences. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Rodney. I apologize. I
You
don't
know
know if
what?
my okay.
The mute award of the week goes to me. I'm over here. You know what? If y'all could see this, I am over here producing. I'm multitasking. I'm very agile right now. I am multitasking. I'm on stage and I'm producing. You know, the divine blesses the flexible. Tony, thank you for your comment and question. She says, thank you for presenting this. Just wondering how to connect students as early as middle school,
Sure.
how to get them connected and even just interested in the knowledge of this niche of the industry.
Yes.
There's definitely a need for younger students to understand the value of the technology that's literally in their hands. Of course, the easier, the better. Tony, thank you so much for that. Michelle.
Excellent. And that's an excellent question. There are so many STEM programs. And so as I mentioned, for me, I'm a byproduct of the County Executive Leadership Program. I know the mayor in my area had another leadership development program, but for different organizations like Google, they have a STEM program for children as young as 5. I can remember my baby cousin was in a STEM program and he was like, Auntie Mish, I'm doing what you're doing, right? And so there's definitely opportunities out there. You have to do some research, but there's a number of organizations that are feeling the crunch and that are big in big tech. In the government space, there's a big push to meet the DEI standards, as someone mentioned in the chat. And so they are creating STEM events where you could actually bring children in to see how a daily job function So there's a lot of opportunities. Again, I could provide some additional examples depending on what you're looking for.
Excellent. Well, I want to encourage everyone to make sure they sign up at www.opportunityhub.co/cyber. Again, that's www.opportunityhub.co/cyber. And when you join, you'll also get access to IBM Skills Bill. And they're actually two paths, adult learners, and there's also IBM Skills Bill for kids up to high school as well. So there's something here for everyone. One of my dear mentors, Dr. John Maxwell, taught me um, extend a heart before you extend a hand. And so we definitely practice the Kingonomics currencies of reciprocity at Opportunity Hub. And Michelle, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. We're not in the evenings, we're not in the weekend. Folks are working. They're, protecting our systems, protecting our government, protecting our companies. And so just want to say thank you so much. And I'm really, really, really excited about office hours. And y'all, please take advantage of the office hours so you can learn more about Michelle's journey, Michelle's company, resources like IBM Skills Bill, and other immersive boot camps and programs that we're putting together to bring to this ecosystem. So this video will be available for a limited time on the socials, and then we'll definitely add it to our library. We've got some amazing things coming to you all in the near and dear future from Opportunity Hub. Look, we'll be 10 years, y'all. We're coming up on 10 years next June. And so we've hung in there. We fought the good fight, and it's just so amazing. We're in airports, we're at events, we're in different places, and we run into people that literally tell us the trajectory of their life was changed because they participated in an OHUB event, whether in person, virtual, an OHUB boot camp, a certificate program. And it's just amazing to see it. And you know what? We're just getting started. So thank you once again, and we'll see you soon.
Take care. Thank you again.